what do we do about the loving, well-meaning relative who says, well, they can have a little bit of that. A little cheese isn't going to hurt them. They can have that pecan pie. Don't deprive them. Now, that's real. Right. What do you do with that family member, Vince?
Well, going back to it, if you notice the words that I was using earlier about when you're eliciting them for help, use the word medical. This is a medical issue. I think people respond better when they know this is a medical ailment or this is a medical necessity, that they can't have these things. People really respond to that. They're really sensitive to this because now it's not an opinion, right? It's not, well, this is a diet or something that, you know, everyone can cheat on their diet, right? Everyone has a little bit of this or a little bit of that, as long as, you know, the majority of this stuff stays in. But if we talk about this as a medical necessity, a medical issue, I think we get a lot more buy-in from everybody and they understand the importance of it much more.
My mother was so funny because when I was a kid growing up, I was allergic to milk, and we discovered that I was allergic to wheat. And my mother was so militant if we went someplace advocating for me and saying, do you understand she could go into anaphylactic shock? This is serious, you know. And then I had a child, and my child went on the GFC diet, and my mother was in mourning. I don't know what the deal was with her, but she was in mourning about it. And she would occasionally try to slip him something, and he would say stop. And finally one day she said to me, well, I just don't understand. Is he ever going to get to have ice cream? He's a little boy. Is he ever going to get to have ice cream? And I said to her, I said, Mom, here's the truth. He can have ice cream today. It's just that he won't be able to talk for probably a week to 2 weeks, and I'm not willing to trade that. Would you like to? Because that's how my child responds to dairy. He loses the ability to talk, to formulate his thoughts. And I said, would you like to choose that? And she went, is that the truth? And I said, that's the truth. Do you want to try it out? And then she settled down.
Yeah, it's interesting how if it's diabetes or, something even more, like maybe cancer or something like that, people are like, oh, fine, we'll accommodate. But somehow there's this gray area with autism that people don't believe. Yeah. Right. That it can affect your child, that diet can be such an important component. And, for me, it's gastrointestinal and behavioral with Wyatt. I mean, I'll never forget one day. At Sunday school, they made cookies and then put that icing and the thing all over it. Well, thank you. He was on the toilet all day, plus he was tantruming all day. Yeah. So, I think when you tell them, I think medical necessity, Vince, is a really good way to frame it.
Absolutely. And for the family member who won't listen, who won't take no, and when your child is having a behavior and maybe it's something that you've got on extinction or whatever, and they just want to get in and they're sidetracking your parenting on the day of, what advice do you have for us for dealing with that pain in the you-know-what family member? We all have them. We all do.
We all do, right? Well, and I think, and sometimes it's, depending on culture and hierarchy of the person who's intervening, it'd be grandma, it'd be grandpa, there's a respect of your elders and stuff that play into it. So a lot of the times, as we were mentioning earlier with the diet, I think it's important to talk about it before a behavior occurs, right? Preparing everybody for what's going on, because I think when everybody's natural reactions kick in instead, sometimes people will do what, which is good-hearted and good intent, but it won't be an effective behavior strategy. Either it be, pacifying the child or giving the child attention for negative attention-seeking behaviors or what it may be. If your child is active or is going to, have a high probability of going into a behavior, I think it's important to talk to the loved ones, especially those that like you were saying, we all have them. The ones that are going to be most interfering, to let them know ahead of this is what the behavior plan is. This is what the professionals have set up that we follow at home. And then you go over, if he tantrums, this is what we do. And the reason why, right? I think the reason why is essential, because a lot of times if we just explain what a behavior technique is, people don't understand why we do it. So they're less likely to buy into it and actually follow through with it. But if they understand the reason why, the science behind it, then they're more likely to go ahead and follow it, especially if they were prepped ahead of time. But without that preparation or without that prior education, they're going to go with their natural instincts, which could be wrong.